Yeah, I don't think Mother knew about this.
Uncle Marvin was strangled by his own beard.
Yeah, never saw it coming. And you have found us. It's America's Family History Show, Extreme Genes and ExtremeGenes.com. It is Fisher here, your radio root sleuth, on the program where we shake your family tree and watch the nuts fall out. This segment of the show is brought to you by FamilySearch.org. And coming up today, a unique new partnership between the Sons of the American Revolution and King's College in London. My guest today is going to be Joe Dooley. He's the past President General of the SAR, and he's going to tell us about this partnership, what they're expecting it to bring to us in terms of new outlook on what happened on the other side of the pond during the Revolution, and some new stories that have come as a result of this, some new discoveries in the papers of King George III. This is going to be good stuff coming up starting in about 10 minutes. And here's our guy with our Family Histoire news every week. He's the chief genealogist of the New England Historic Genealogical Society and AmericanAncestors.org from Boston, Massachusetts. Please say hello to David Allen Lambert. Hi, David. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing okay. Back from Ontario at the Ontario Genealogical Society in Canada, which was great, and I'm flattered to say they've asked me to be their keynote next year in London, Ontario in June of 2019.
That is fantastic. Congratulations. And speaking of which, by the way, I am keynoting at the FGS convention coming up in Indiana in August, so it's going to be a lot of fun, and we look forward to seeing a lot of genies there.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you, we start off with the news remembering something that happened 74 years ago, and that is the anniversary of D-Day, Operation Overlord, which changed the course of the war for the good with the landing of the Allies on the beaches, including my own uncle, who was only 19 years old.
Wow.
Well, the big news in genealogy is obviously the 92 million accounts from MyHeritage that have been compromised.
Yeah, this is huge news, obviously. 92 million accounts. Apparently it happened last October, but MyHeritage has just found out about it here recently. And the first thing they're saying is, change your password. There is no real word right now on whether or not there's any data relating to family members or anything that has been compromised. They don't know.
Well, they can always download my ancestors and do the research for me.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of a shot across the bow for the entire industry, though, David.
Very
Obviously,
much so.
There's going to be a lot of information coming out about this. And if you had an account prior to, I think it was October 17th of last year, then you are affected by this, as most of us are. Obviously, you don't build up a database of 92 million users without that going back some way. So make sure you get your password changed and keep an eye open on things. They've set up a 24/7 hotline, but it's a miserable thing and obviously everybody's worst nightmare. There's no mention, though, David, about DNA, the raw DNA data being compromised.
No, I haven't heard anything about that either, and that's obviously a big concern, but actually leads me to our next story in regards to what you might want to do with your own DNA. Sell it or rent it.
Yeah.
Luna DNA of Solana Beach and Nebula Genomics of San Francisco, California startups that are trying to figure out how much they would be paying people for their DNA, either to buy it or to rent it. So with all your DNA information out there and possibly now compromised, why not sell it anyways?
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. You know, the interesting thing about this is, of course, it would be used for health issues. And they say if you get enough DNA in there, people that have provided it willingly and have actually been paid for it, we can solve a lot of disease issues. And wouldn't that be incredible?
It really would.
All right, I got to share with you a story that I found this week. This is from a digitized newspaper account out of Indiana, and this is one of my wife's relatives, not one of her ancestors, but it's like a cousin branch, okay?
Sure.
This is from 1903. David Early was arrested Monday on complaint of his former wife, Mrs. May Kramer, in Goshen, she charging Early with peering in at her windows and depositing dynamite upon her front step. During Early's examination, he was asked if he did not tell the prosecuting witness, while yet his wife, that it was he who blew up Dr. Swetlin's office in Mottville in 1895, injuring a man who was sleeping therein, and that he secured acquittal for one Thompson, who was accused of the crime by falsely swearing an alibi.
Wow, that story is quite a blast from the past.
Yes, it is. A blast from the past. But I love what you can find in digitized newspapers, and there's a great example.
Oh, well, I'll tell you one thing that might be a surprise for future genealogists when you're going through the trunk. You might find Grandma's pictures. You might find Grandma's wedding dress. How about Grandma's tattoos?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you can now preserve forever body art. Tattoos can be removed and preserved by a company called Save My Ink Forever.
This has gotten a lot of comment on our Facebook page.
Yeah, I don't have any tattoos personally, and photograph works really well.
Yeah, right.
Don't think I need to touch and have it as a bookmark if one of my relatives want to leave it. So any distant cousins that want to do DNA, more than happy to have it. You want to send me your tattoos after you're dead? Not interested. Thank you.
No, thanks.
Well, I'll tell you, every week we like to talk about a blogger spotlight, and this one, pretty young. She's still in high school, or probably is graduating. Renee Schmidt out of Virginia has a blog called famgenealogy.blogspot.com, and go to Extreme Genes for the full hyperlink. It's a little longer. But she talks about her adventures in genealogy, and it's really nice to see the next gen of genealogists. This is someone who's right in that generation. They'll keep what we're doing now for the future generations to look back at. It's great stuff. Well, NEHGS has some exciting news. We have launched the 5th generation of the Mayflower Silver Books for our members on AmericanAncestors.org, and it has over 193,000 records. It's the 5th generation from the immigrant, and it has all the data so you can search it. The first 4 generations are still in print, so you'd still need to refer to the books, but this is a way to get in and find out if you have a potential Mayflower line for 2020, which is right around the corner. And remember, if you're not an NEHGS member, you can join and save $20 by using the coupon code EXTREME on AmericanAncestors.org. Well, that's what I get from being in town for this week. Dig for some more news for next week for you, Fish.
All right, David. Take care. Thanks so much. And coming up next, we've got the past President General of the Sons of the American Revolution, Joe Dooley, talking about their new partnership with King's College and some of the information about the revolution from across the pond that we didn't know before. He's coming up in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Legacy Tree Genealogist is a proud sponsor of Extreme Genes. Based in Salt Lake City, Utah, near the world's largest family history library, we've worked with genealogists all over the globe since 2004 to track down records, find your ancestors, and the stories that bring your legacy to life. We also analyze DNA test results, help you join lineage societies, and find missing cousins. Legacy Tree is the recommended research partner of MyHeritage.com and is the world's highest client-rated genealogy firm. Call us toll-free at 1-800-818-1476 or register online to get a free estimate. Right now, you can save up to $100 on professional genealogy research. But hurry, this offer expires at the end of the month. Even experienced researchers can benefit from our proven and experienced staff of specialists who can bring new approaches to old problems. Learn from our free genealogy tips on our blog at legacytree.com/blog. Legacy Tree Genealogists. We do the research. You enjoy the discoveries.
Did you know that Family Search Family Tree is available through a powerful new mobile app experience? That's right. Now you can view, edit, and even add information to ancestors in your family tree whenever and wherever you are. You no longer need to wait to get home or make a date with your computer to view or update your family tree. You can add details to your tree when visiting with family or when capturing details from a trip to the cemetery. You can share new family history discoveries from classroom settings. You can even make the most of your time when waiting for doctor appointments or car repairs. Get started today by downloading the free Family Search Family Tree app to your Apple or Android device. Visit familysearch.org/tree app to get the Family Tree app for free. Exploring and expanding your family tree has never been more convenient. Visit familysearch.org/tree app to download the Family Search Family Tree mobile app today.
Hey, Genis, Fisher here with a shout out to our Patrons Club members at patreon.com/extremegenes. This is where friends of the show support Extreme Genes for as little as $1 a month, all the way up to the cost of a very nice burger each month. I mean, a really juicy one. You can support the show and enjoy various special Patrons Club member benefits, such as acknowledgement on extremegenes.com, special bonus podcasts from expert guests like Maureen Taylor, the photo detective, CC Moore, your genetic genealogist, great storytellers and experts on record sets from all over the world. We even offer expert advice on specific questions challenging your research. So go to patreon.com/extremegenes and get signed up. We love sharing your genealogical journey with you on our Extreme Genes Patrons Club. After all, what would you rather have? Inspiring and informative content or another greasy burger? The choice is yours. And thanks for supporting Extreme Genes. Welcome back. It's America's Family History Show, Extreme Genes and extremegenes.com. Fisher here, your radio root sleuth, proud member of the Sons of the American Revolution. Going back to 2013, at the time my next guest became the President General of the SAR. He's Joe Dooley. And Joe, welcome to Extreme Genes. Nice to have you along.
Thanks, Scott. It's good to be here.
You know, I'm kind of excited about some of the things that are happening right now, and I want to get into that, and that's the reason of your time on the show here. But I wanted to talk about the 1 year that you were President General of the SAR, some of the things you accomplished, because I thought they were pretty amazing at the time. It was my first year in there.
Oh, great. I didn't realize. So you joined the SAR in 2013 while I was DG.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. It was a good year. So I don't know if you remember reading into the issues of the SAR magazine, but when I became President General, I challenged the membership to raise $1 million during my term. And at the time, I had a full head of hair. So I said, if you raise a lot of money, if you raise $1 million, I will shave my head bald during our next national conference, which we call a Congress.
Right.
We did it. We raised over $1.3 million, actually almost $1.4 million.
So you're like a school principal, right? I mean, they do that. They incentivize. Okay.
Well, they incentivize, and so we did it. The other thing during my term as President General was I established a relationship with Mount Vernon, George Washington at Mount Vernon. At the time, Mount Vernon had a program to place portraits of General Washington in schools all across the country, and with the SAR's help, we were able to place well over 50 portraits of Washington in various schools. I also challenged the members, the state societies, and the local chapters to erect monuments, markers, and memorials to Revolutionary War people, places, or events, and we did that. And I'm very happy, particularly down in North Carolina, they erected a monument to a community of black patriots. There were a free community of people of color, and many of them were patriots. So there are people of color in North Carolina descended from these black patriots, and there's an SAR monument honoring them.
Yeah, I remember it was a very busy year. All right, I want to get past that because you've got so much going on right now, and I know you're right in the thick of this thing. It's a partnership with King's College, and for anybody who is a descendant of the Revolution, for anybody who had ancestors living at this time, this is going to be of great interest to you because it's opening up the personal notes and correspondence of King George III at the time. How did this come about, Joe? Did you reach out, and how did those folks across the pond feel about this?
Actually, the outreach came from the other side of the pond. Back in 2015, the Georgian Papers program was launched at Windsor Castle. It's a collaboration between King's College London and the Royal Archives. And what King's College has done is they have reached out to several entities in Europe and in the United States to help with the digitization of about 350,000 records.
Wow.
These were only about 15% of these have actually been studied by scholars.
Why? What's been the holdup on that?
Well, King George III died in 1820, and his son and heir, King George IV, died in 1830. The Duke of Wellington he served as the executor to George IV, and he took possession of the personal papers of both George III and George IV, and those papers sat in the basement of Apsley House, which was the Duke of Wellington's London residence. Oh. They were labeled to be destroyed unread, but fortunately they were not destroyed.
Wow.
But they sat in his basement for, maybe 100 years or so. And in 1914, King George V, the grandson of Queen Victoria, the grandfather of the current queen, King George V established the Royal Archives at Windsor Castle. And he set about looking for things to put in this archives, and they found these papers at Apsley House. The first royal archivist went to look for other papers and found papers from King George I and George II, and George IV was succeeded by his brother William IV. So these 5 kings are collectively called the Hanoverians. We have all of these papers from George I, II, III, IV, and William IV in the Georgian Papers program.
That's incredible. And I got to ask, though, I think about these papers sitting in a basement in an old musty castle. I mean, what was the condition of these things after all that time?
My understanding from the Royal Archives is that they were in remarkably good condition.
Wow.
The Royal Archives took possession of them in around 1914, so it was another 100 years before they decided to digitize them. But in the meantime, in those 100 years, they've been stored in climate-controlled environment, and they've been well preserved, and now they are being digitized. So among the partners of King's College London are actually the Omohundro Institute of Early American History and Culture and the College of William and Mary. Other partners besides the Sons of the American Revolution include the Library of Congress and the Mount Vernon Ladies Association.
That is just phenomenal. So this partnership now has begun, and the SAR is a part of it. And so what is the role of the Sons of the American Revolution?
So what we do is the SAR makes, let me back up. The digitization program is scheduled to take about 5 years, and it began in 2016. So we're looking through 2020. And so what happens is that the SAR makes an annual contribution to King's College London, and that contribution underwrites an American scholar to go to London to spend time at the Royal Archives at Windsor Castle studying these papers. This position is called the SAR Visiting Professor at King's College London, and he or she has 8 weeks.
Is this a professor? Is this?
Well, no, the position is designated as the SAR Visiting Professor. So we're inviting professional historians and academics from American universities across the country.
That is phenomenal. So they're going through basically 85% of King George's papers that have never been reviewed before by historians.
Well, they're contributing to that review. Obviously, different historians have different areas of concentration, so they look for things that pertain to their particular interest. The first SAR visiting professor was Andrew O'Shaughnessy, who is from the University of Virginia. A couple of years ago, Andrew wrote the book, The Men Who Lost America. It was an examination of British leadership during the Revolution. And so Andrew was interested in looking for things that touched on British leadership during the Revolution, and he found a few interesting things. The second SAR visiting professor was Gabriel Paquette from Johns Hopkins University. Professor Paquette is a Hispanist. He was very interested in the diplomatic correspondence between London and Madrid during the American Revolution. Spain, as you may know, but as very few people know, actually supported the American Revolution.
Right.
Unlike France, they didn't recognize American independence or sign treaties of amity and commerce, but they did support the revolution. So the diplomatic correspondence between London and Madrid could be enlightening. The next SAR visiting professor will be Catherine Engel from Southern Methodist University. Much of what Professor Engel has published deals with religion in the 18th century, and particularly religion during the Revolutionary period. So this is something I think has been little explored, and that is the relationship between, King George III, of course, was the head of the Church of England, and that included the Anglican community in the United States, or what would become the United States. And that became strained during the Revolution, as you can imagine.
Well, and of course, the Episcopal Church wound up being a separate version of it, and only fairly recently did it have any kind of reconciliation, which was interesting in itself. But I mean, I'm thinking about, here's an 8-year period from 1775 to 1783 when the revolution was going on, but you also had the time leading up to it. I mean, the causes of the revolution have to be covered in there as well, and I'm sure there's some amazing things. Now, you mentioned that Andrew O'Shaughnessy discovered some interesting things. Can you share with us a couple of those things?
Sure. To be honest with you, I know that Andrew has talked about this. I'm not sure if he made these discoveries. I know that he's talked about them, but there was an essay that King George wrote entitled "America is Lost." Now, the essay itself is undated, but from the text, you can tell that it was written sometime after Cornwallis's surrender at Yorktown in October 1781 and before the Treaty of Paris was signed. So it's in that period, less than 2 years, actually. And it's a bitter, angry essay in which he just seeks to justify everything he's done, and he refers to Americans as those poor wretches. But as bitter as it may be, it's also, I find it rather moving. This is a man, we, the Americans, may think of him as a tyrant. If you read the Declaration of Independence, we have good cause to think of him as a tyrant. But he himself thought of himself as a constitutional monarch. And he thought that he did everything that he could do and should do and was obliged to do by the British Constitution. So I think that the American Revolution really blindsided King George.
He was kind of hurt that he was rejected that way with that much anger.
Absolutely. He absolutely had no idea, or he could not understand why Americans were reacting the way they were reacting. Mind you, I'm not sorry at all about the way things developed.
No.
As much as I might acknowledge the king really felt he got the raw end of the deal here, I'm sorry about that, but I'm glad that we won.
Well, I think there's a lot of difference sometimes between how people are perceived and how they perceive themselves. And obviously, he's trying to justify himself. I would imagine anybody who's born into a royal family in a position of leadership and all that, their self-view has got to be so different from anybody else who walks the earth.
Sure. It's not a way to go through life that I can relate to at all.
I mean, even different from presidents of the United States, for instance. I mean, they go through a process of growth and seeking approval and building up support teams, and then they get elected. I'm sure it must be surreal to be sworn in as president of the United States, but you know your term is going to be only 4 years or 8 years, one or the other, and it's over. But these guys are born into it. They've got castles and they've got armies when they're children. I mean, it's just absolutely astounding. So,
and American presidents have come from a wide range of backgrounds. You take somebody who has had a very humble beginning, like, say, Harry Truman.
Right.
But, you know, somebody like the Roosevelts, fairly privileged, very different. But I think that reflects America.
Absolutely. I'm talking to Joe Dooley. He's the past President General of the Sons of the American Revolution, and they've got a partnership going right now with King's College in England, and we're finding out more about what was going on that side of the pond during the Revolution than has ever been known before. We're going to talk more about this project coming up next when we return in 5 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Looking for an easy way to show off your family history and share it with your family? Family Chartmasters offers beautiful custom pedigree art pieces and inexpensive family reunion draft charts in any design or size that fits your needs. With a free consultation at FamilyChartmasters.com, you can get started creating a new family masterpiece. Family Chartmasters has over 11 years of experience in creating and printing family charts. They can print any style genealogy chart from any genealogy file and can create exactly what you're looking for. You'll work with a specialized and talented consultant whose goal is to make you happy. Decorative charts make fantastic gifts for all occasions. And with Family Chartmasters' option of ordering duplicate charts at half price along with your original purchase at full price, you can afford to give a family heirloom to each member of your family. Contact Family Chartmasters today at FamilyChartmasters.com for your free consultation. Family Chartmasters will give the greatest care to your family history. Scientific studies have proven that youth who know even a little bit about their family history perform better academically and have a greater sense of personal confidence and stability. Genealogy is its own incredible superpower that arms our children with super strength. But how do you get your child or grandchild interested in studying their family history? That kind of stuff is just for grandmas, right? Not anymore. ZapTheGrandmaGap.com leaps the generation gap in a single bound. Author Janet Havorka provides you with useful and timely advice on helping the young people in your life become engaged in their own family history. Janet has an entire collection of books to inspire the young and the young at heart in fun, interactive ways. She also offers creative tips and advice on her blog and in her free weekly newsletter. Stop by ZapTheGrandmaGap.com today to sign up for Janet's free email newsletter with 52 weeks of easy tips, free downloads, and order your set of resource books and workbooks.
Welcome back. It's America's Family History Show, Extreme Genes and ExtremeGenes.com. It is Fisher talking to Joe Dooley. He is the past President General of the Sons of the American Revolution, who have a new partnership going on right now over the last year or so with King's College in London as they examine the papers of the King Georges, many of them. King George, let's see, let me make sure I've got this right, Joe. King George the Second, the Third, the Fourth, and William the Fourth, right?
That's correct. And
okay.
You can go back up on George the First.
And George the First. Okay. And during the break, we were talking a little bit about one of the discoveries that Andrew O'Shaughnessy made during one of his times over there examining these papers on behalf of the SAR. It involved King George's son, William. Tell us about this.
So the man who would eventually become King William IV was actually a teenager during the American Revolution, and I believe he held the rank of lieutenant in the Royal Navy. He was stationed in New York. So there came a time when he took a walk with Sir Henry Clinton. Sir Henry Clinton was in charge of the British forces in America. I should imagine that it would have to be very difficult to be the commanding officer and have as one of the people under your command the son of the king. But that's the situation that General Clinton found himself in. So there came a time when Sir Henry Clinton and Prince William were taking a walk around the Bowling Green. Now, if you back up a minute, you may recall that at the outbreak of the Revolution, New Yorkers were so moved by the first public reading of the Declaration of Independence.
Yes, that night.
They went and they pulled down a gilt bronze statue of King George.
Now, just to hold you there for a moment, Joe, I had an ancestor, a fourth grade, named Elisha Gallaudet, who lived just around the corner from that at Bowling Green.
He might have participated.
He could have, for all we know, but he was the engraver of the Continental Dollar. At least he gets credit for that anyway. And I just picture every time I hear this story, the noise he must have heard if he was not himself participating in it.
Well, exactly. So imagine now, some years, the revolution is underway, and the statue of King George is long gone. They melted down the head and made bullets for it. So now New York is occupied by the Brits, and Sir Henry Clinton is taking a stroll with Prince William, and they come across the Bowling Green. What we know is that Prince William later wrote a letter to his father. And I find this uncomfortable myself. If I were a king, I would hate to have my son address me as Your Majesty. But that's exactly how Prince William addresses his father. Even if I were a king, I would want my son to say "Dear Dad." But no,
well, it's
Prince
protocol,
said,
right? It's protocol back in those days.
My son is my son, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is a British thing. I can't relate. I'm an American. So Prince William writes a letter to his dad, and he says, "Your Gracious Majesty" or "Your Royal Majesty." And then he proceeds to describe how he was taking a walk with Sir Henry Clinton along the Bowling Green, and he writes, "We saw the pedestal whereon Your Majesty's statue lately stood." I mean, I find this teenage boy taking a little dig at his father.
Yeah.
You know, he's like sort of drawing to his dad's attention. This is where those Yanks pulled down your statue. I think it's a great letter, and I'm not sure if Andrew found this letter himself, or I think he might have, but certainly he has written about it.
Yes.
So.
Well, you know, it's just amazing. The kid was like 16, right, at the time?
Exactly.
And he's a commissioned officer in the British Navy at 16.
If you're the son of the king, I guess that can happen.
Yeah, that can happen. And so here he's obviously giving a little tweak to his old man, saying, Absolutely. "Hey, Dad, your statue's not there anymore." And it makes you wonder if he was having fun at Dad's expense, or was he just trying to maybe provoke Dad a little bit more into supporting the effort?
I think he might have been doing both. I think he might have been doing both.
You know? Well, and this is just one little letter from the course of this partnership with King's College in London.
Absolutely.
And how many are there total? I mean, you were saying in percentages that maybe 15% of these...
I don't know about specific correspondence. I do know that if you go to there's a website, the Georgian Papers Program, and program is spelt the British way.
Of course, MME.
MME, that's correct. So if you go to the Georgian Papers Program, that website actually speculates that there's about 350,000 pages.
Wow.
So, and only about 15% of these have been studied by professional historians.
And do you think for a time, with the sensitivity perhaps after the revolution, that they didn't want this material to get examined and studied?
I think we probably have some evidence of that. For the most part, I think that these papers are personal. I think there are relatively few state papers among this collection.
Okay.
There may be some. And I think that that's why these papers were labeled to be destroyed unread. And we're fortunate that they were not destroyed, and now we have the opportunity, really the luxury, of reading them.
Yeah, and all the time in the world to get it done. I mean, I just can imagine the new books and new insight that's going to come out as a result of this partnership.
Exactly, and kudos to the Royal Archives. King's College, the Royal Archives, and the Royal Family are determined that all of these documents should be digitized and put online, made available online for free.
Wow. Now, obviously, 315,000 over whatever period of time. It must have been about a century's worth of papers, right? They weren't all written by the king.
No. Most of these papers, I understand, are from the reigns of George III and George the Fourth. There's a smaller number of papers from George the First and George the Second.
But them personally, or the royal family during that era?
Both.
Okay.
Both. There are many documents from the respective kings, but there are also documents from other members of the royal family and of the royal household.
Fascinating. You know what's going to be really interesting, Joe, is if we hear some references to specific individuals on this side of the pond.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because the SAR solicits resumes, and we sift through these resumes to decide who will be the next SAR visiting professor at King's College. One of the scholars who has submitted a resume is a fellow named Richard Samuelson at California State University in San Bernardino. And Professor Samuelson is an Adams scholar. And as you may know, John Adams is the only founding father to have had an audience with King George III.
Right, yes.
And so Richard was hoping that he could be named the SAR visiting professor, because he would like to see if, in fact, George III made any private notation as to his impression of John Adams.
Well, as we've seen portrayed at very least, it was an awkward meeting.
Absolutely. Well, I think it probably was more awkward for the king than it was for John Adams. Your audience is probably familiar with the musical Hamilton. As portrayed in that musical, the king recounts that meeting, and he was underwhelmed by John Adams.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's quite the partnership, and I'm really excited to hear about where this goes moving forward. What are you anticipating? Any new books that are coming out anytime soon as a result of this?
Not anytime soon. I've learned the hard way that academic publishing happens very slowly. So I think that these papers are going to be digitized and they're going to be studied, and I think what we'll see probably within the next 5 to 10 years is we'll see more and more papers being written.
Journals,
pieces in history journals, and then eventually I think that we will see some books, some more in-depth studies of what these papers might reveal to us.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And I would imagine this could go on and on for 20 years or more.
Well, the digitization process is scheduled for 5 years.
Right, so but the study of them, once they're available, that'll never end.
That's correct. And that's the nature of academics. The scholarship will go on and on and on, and people will study these and restudy these, and will put the whole Georgian world, the whole 18th century, the whole revolutionary period in a different perspective.
Wow. I mean, what a great project to involve the SAR and King's College. Joe Dooley, thank you so much for your time and the insight on this. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about what we can find out about what was going on the other side of the pond during the revolution.
Thanks, Scott.
And coming up next in 3 minutes, it's family reunion time. Tom Perry from TMCplace.com, our preservation authority, has some thoughts for you on that. Coming right up on Extreme Genes.
Legacy Tree Genealogist is a proud sponsor of Extreme Genes. Based in Salt Lake City, Utah, near the world's largest family history library, we've worked with genealogists all over the globe since 2004 to track down records, find your ancestors, and the stories that bring your legacy to life. We also analyze DNA test results, help you join lineage societies, and find missing cousins. Legacy Tree is the recommended research partner of MyHeritage.com and is the world's highest client-rated genealogy firm. Call us toll toll-free at 1-800-818-1476 or register online to get a free estimate. Right now, you can save up to $100 on professional genealogy research. But hurry, this offer expires at the end of the month. Even experienced researchers can benefit from our proven and experienced staff of specialists who can bring new approaches to old problems. Learn from our free genealogy tips on our blog at legacytree.com/blog. Legacy Tree Genealogists. We do the research. You enjoy the discoveries.
Did you know that Family Search Family Tree is available through a powerful new mobile app experience? That's right. Now you can view, edit, and even add information to ancestors in your family tree whenever and wherever you are. You no longer need to wait to get home or make a date with your computer to view or update your family tree. You can add details to your tree when visiting with family or when capturing details from a trip to the cemetery. You can share new family history discoveries from classroom settings. You can even make the most of your time when waiting for doctor appointments or car repairs. Get started today by downloading the free Family Search Family Tree app to your Apple or Android device. Visit familysearch.org/tree app to get the Family Tree app for free. Exploring and expanding your family tree has never been more convenient. Visit familysearch.org/tree app to download the Family Search Family Tree mobile app today.
Hey, Genies, Fisher here with a shout out to our Patrons Club members at patreon.com/Extreme Genes. This is where friends of the show support Extreme Genes for as little as $1 a month, all the way up to the cost of a very nice burger each month. I mean, a really juicy one. You can support the show and enjoy various special Patrons Club member benefits, such as acknowledgement on extremegenes.com, special bonus podcasts from expert guests like Maureen Taylor, the photo detective, CC Moore, your genetic genealogist, great storytellers and experts on record sets from all over the world. We even offer expert advice on specific questions challenging your research. So go to patreon.com/Extreme Genes and get signed up. We love sharing your genealogical journey with you on our Extreme Genes Patrons Club. After all, what would you rather have? Inspiring and informative content or another greasy burger? The choice is yours. And thanks for supporting Extreme Genes. It is time to talk preservation once again with our preservation authority, Tom Perry from TMCplace.com. It is Fisher here, your radio root sleuth on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show. Weather is nice and warm, Tom. It is reunion time, and it's time to think about what summer means when it comes to preservation, and there's a few aspects to this.
Right. There's actually, two things that we'll cover in the first and second segment. The first thing is, you are going to be creating memories that are going to be important to your kids and your grandkids. So don't just blow them off and think these are happening right now. Who cares? You need to preserve these things so that they've got it. Now let's step back and look at things that you have received from aunts and uncles, grandma, grandpa, great-grandparents, things that you found related to your family on eBay that you've been able to collect over time. You want to take all these things to your reunion and scan them, make them available for everybody in your family to be able to have access to. But yet you might have Aunt Gretel who will not let things leave her house, whether it's film or slides or photos or whatever that is. You need to make sure that you still make that available. So what you might want to do is if you've got your shot box or you've rented a scanner from Easy Photo Scan, which are high-resolution scanners, before the reunion, go over to her house and scan all the stuff there so she can sit there and look over your shoulder and make sure nothing's going wrong and your scanners aren't eating your photos or whatever.
Right.
And get all her stuff on an SD card or flash drive. I would also back it up on a CD just in case something happens in the flash drive. You want to make sure something's backed up. Also put it in the cloud. When something's so important, you're going to a reunion with all these people, you don't want to rely on one source in case it goes south on you.
That makes a lot of sense. Would you set up a cloud for everybody at the reunion to be able to access for material you put there?
Absolutely, and Dropbox is an ideal place to use. There's a lot of other ones out there that will let you use so many megabytes for free.
Google Drive?
Exactly. There's so many good ones out there. Go and check them out, see what fits you best. And even if you have to pay for 1 month, that's fine. Just tell everybody, hey, all this stuff's going to be up for 1 month. You're going to have access to it. And then let everybody else before the reunion know what the site is, how to get to it, what the passwords are, and all that kind of thing. Because they might have some treasured memories that they're a little bit scared to let out of their home, too. So they can upload all these different things so they're there. And still remind them, please bring a DVD, a data DVD or a data CD So we've got that too, just in case something happens at the cloud, it goes down, something's going to mess up your reunion, because you usually have like a 4 or 5 hour window on your reunion and don't want to mess that up. So make sure everybody knows that they've got a backup of everything that they have too.
Well, it'd be like a virtual reunion online, right?
Exactly. And there will be some people, remember, some people can't make it because of work or whatever. So make sure for the people that aren't going to be there, you set up something like a Skype account. Make sure the hotel you're going to, whatever, has Wi-Fi access, or you have a phone that you can use with your computer for Wi-Fi access, and just have it there the whole time, and everybody can come and say, hey, Mitch, sorry you couldn't be with us. This is great. This is what we're doing. And
Periscope is another one.
Exactly. If they have a good experience, maybe next year they'll be able to make it. And this is just a wonderful way not to leave anybody out.
Well, and the good part about this especially is this is the kind of thing that has to involve the younger people because of the technology side of things. The older folks aren't necessarily going to be playing with Skype and uploading and scanning and all this. They're going to involve the grandkids and the kids to be part of the thing as they anticipate the reunion and then being part of it later.
Absolutely. That is the best thing that you could mention, because so many times the little kids are, oh, this is going to be boring, or the teenagers, oh, I'm going to hate this. Oh, no, we need you to set up the Skype. We need you to run this. We need you to do all this kind of stuff. And their eyes get as big as baseballs, and then they're going to want, oh, hey, this reunion is going to be cool. And they're doing what their brain has been prepped to do, that they love these iPads and all these kind of fun electronics, and they're going to make it easier for you to do stuff, and they're going to be able to pull things off that you will not believe.
Yeah, so make sure you plan this out and you involve the kids. So you're going to bring in the past, and you're going to also create an experience that becomes the past and an important part of their youth. All right, Tom, coming up in the next segment, what do you want to talk about?
We're going to talk a little bit more about what we can set up for your family reunion to make it totally awesome for everybody, and you'll have your memories forever.
All right, coming up in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Looking for an easy way to show off your family history and share it with your family? Family Chartmasters offers beautiful custom pedigree art pieces and inexpensive family reunion draft charts in any design or size that fits your needs. With a free consultation at FamilyChartmasters.com, you can get started creating a new family masterpiece. Family Chartmasters has over 11 years of experience in creating and printing family charts. They can print any style genealogy chart from any genealogy file and can create exactly what you're looking for. You'll work with a specialized and talented consultant whose goal is to make you happy. Decorative charts make fantastic gifts for all occasions. And with Family Chartmasters' option of ordering duplicate charts at half price along with your original purchase at full price, you can afford to give a family heirloom to each member of your family. Contact Family Chartmasters today at FamilyChartmasters.com for your free consultation. Family Chartmasters will give the greatest care to your family history.
When was the last time you heard your grandmother's voice or saw your family enjoying life back in the 1950s or 60s? If the reason is you haven't known what to do with your old recordings, videos, and films, here's your answer. The Multimedia Center in Salt Lake City.
We brought in a video project to the Multimedia Center, and overnight they duplicated it to DVD so we could meet our deadline.
The Multimedia Center, 2870 East, 3300 South, Salt Lake City. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. Call 801-483-1717 or go to transferduplication.com.
Genies, it's Fisher with exciting news. The Weekly Genie, the official newsletter of Extreme Genes, is here. It's your Monday morning briefing on what's happening in the world of genealogy and family history and on Extreme Genes. Get all the details of jaw-dropping stories of discovery and keep up with the latest techniques in family history research. Get to know more about your favorite Extreme Genes personalities, and it's free. Sign up for the Weekly Genie now at extremegenes.com or the Extreme Genes Facebook page. And when you do, you'll receive David Allen Lambert's Top 10 Tips for Beginning Genealogists from the Chief Genealogist of the New England Historic Genealogical Society. Sign up today for the Weekly Genie. All right, right, back at it, talking preservation with Tom Perry from TMCPlace.com, the Preservation Authority, on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show, and we're anticipating reunion time, Tom. And, as I think back on past reunions, I think of a lot of fun things, a lot of funny things. I remember I was almost 30 years old, my mom slapping my hand that I couldn't touch some cake on the picnic table because nobody started eating it. I said, wait a minute, I'm a dad, I'm married, I have kids. I'll decide when I want to eat something, and slap their own hand back. But nonetheless, I mean, those are the silly little things you remember. Yep. And just those interactions with people that you rarely have the opportunity to interact with. Preserving the memories of those things and the old videos. I mean, it's so much fun to be a part of this.
And like we talked in the first segment about getting your past and bringing that to the reunion, now let's talk about other people that haven't been able to do all this kind of thing. I really highly recommend you do this, and if you're interested in doing it, I'd do it quick before they rent them all out. Get a hold of EZ Photo Scan out of Florida and rent one of their scanners, because you can rent it for a whole week. It's very cost effective. Split up between your family. It costs hardly anything. You'll have a flatbed scanner for your big stuff. You'll have a really quick scanner for your 3x5s, your 4x5s, and they also even have slide scanners that they can send to you also if you have a lot of people with slides.
So people can bring their stuff to the reunion. They never have to let it leave their site. They're not lending it to somebody else to create the scans. They get it right back immediately, and then everybody gets to benefit from this.
Oh, absolutely. And if you have altogether between 10 people, each have 100 slides, that's 1,000 slides. The cost of the rental of it just paid for taking it to somebody else and having them do it. And it's going to be fun to sit there. The younger kids and the teenagers are going to love to be able to do it, playing with this kind of stuff. And you can get it all organized, put it up in the cloud, but make sure, even if you don't have a CD drive or a DVD burner in your computer, run down to Best Buy or some electronics store. You can pick one up for $50. It's a Blu-ray burner. Take that with you. Take a stack of Blu-rays with you, preferably Tile Uden, and right there, burn all the discs and give everybody a disc. So if the cloud goes down or something doesn't get uploaded right or something is glitchy when you get home and you're going, oh no, this is such an important picture and it looks all glitchy. Well, you've got it on the CD too, so you're going to be fine. So make sure you do them right the first time. And as we were talking off the air, if you buy some cheapo scanner for $200 and you say, oh, well, later on we'll pick out the good pictures and we do it. If you don't have time to do it right now, when are you going to have time to do it over again? You won't.
You won't. It won't happen. And that's why you got to go ahead and do this. And I loved your recommendations from the past about finding one on eBay, buying it, or buying something from Amazon, a really wowy big end thing. You do all this work and then you sell it for maybe 80%, but the cost that you're into it is so minimal for what you've been able to accomplish. It's fantastic.
Oh, it's pennies on the dollar if you go that way. Like you say, buy it on eBay, resell it, and you should be able to, on eBay, get what you paid for it. If you buy a brand new one from like BH Photo back in New York that are great, buy something from them, then sell it on eBay. The little bit that you've lost on selling it is nothing compared to what it costs to do 500 or 1,000 slides at some outside source.
Yeah, but keep in mind, too, if you went to go to an outside source, that means that everybody has to get this material to you, that they be willing to get it to you. You've got to get it back to them. So if you had this device at your reunion and everybody brought everything for that event, you can get it all done at once. I mean, it's just an unbelievably good idea.
Oh, yeah. Like you mentioned, it never leaves their hands. So if they're at all scared about even dropping it off of the neighbor scanner, they don't have to do that. They can stand there and have one of the 16-year-old kids be in charge of the photo scanning, and they can sit there and show the people how to scan them themselves, so they don't even have to let them out of their hands and hand them to somebody else.
Yeah, great advice and a great reminder, too. As always, Tom, good to see you, and thanks so much for the recommendations.
My pleasure.
I know there are a lot of winter people listening, but I love summertime and all that comes with it. Hey, thanks for joining us for another edition of Extreme Genes. We are done for this week. Don't forget to sign up for our weekly Genie newsletter. It's absolutely free. You can do it at extremegenes.com and on our Facebook page. We'll talk to you again next week. Thanks for joining us. And remember, as far as everyone knows, we're a nice, normal family.